Hi, it's Quinby, and I'm back with Book 4 in the Dark Photography Folio by Swinn Daniels. And oh, what a treat this one is. But be warned, it is harrowing. Some wild stuff happens in this one. An old nemesis returns and wreaks havoc on Saxon's life. Ling Pei is thrown into a new chaos. It suits him perfectly. Daniels delves deeper into the world of martial arts in a way I have never read. New characters take the stage, and fantasy elements begin to intrude upon reality as Saxon is put to the ultimate test. Fantasy elements. I guess you could call them that. But honestly, in Daniel's hands, these elements are a little more, shall we say, intense. Here's a sample. Saxon grasped the gold ring that hung from the middle of the red door and pulled. The door opened soundlessly, and he stepped into a room. It was a room steeped in the rotted elegance of a 16th century French palace, a parallel world, one where time moved like treacle, slowed by a singular focus on sloth, rapacity, and sense glut. High ceilings black with mold, cracked and faded paintings of demons hunting humans, strips of cloth falling from walls like cancer skin to reveal the thin ribs of plaster lathing. There ahead of him, at the end of a long runner of ornate carpet, was a chair. In it sat a thing that wore the aspect of a man. It was fat, its skin floored and sagging, the depilated head like a rotted bud bursting from the suet of its chins. Its lips were the purple of poison. A light shone down on its gleaming skull, illuminating a scalp divot between the thing's eyebrows, 2 deep lines bifurcating backwards from it, the whole effect that of a botched circumcision. It would have been a figure of endless derision, were it not for its eyes. The creature's gaze was ancient and inhuman. It was a gaze that had seen men die in their millions, entire civilizations put to the sword. It may have borne witness as king or slave, general or soldier, merchant or beggar. These just robes of flesh it wore, as it displaced the dark undercurrents of history, its gaze the only constant. Saxon noticed something, even at this distance from the thing in the chair. There sat upon the chair's armrest what looked to be an apple. It was small and round and perfect, but for the bite taken out of it. Despite its outward perfection, it seemed very, very old, held in a remarkable state of preservation. Power to rival that of the creature in the chair emanated from it. Saxon felt an overpowering urge to leave that room, to simply not partake of what would come next. But his feet of their own volition began the long walk towards man and chair. Closer, he saw the thing was naked. The filth had been dependent between its legs, slightly turgid, knotted and contorted, like an eel that had swallowed a fetus. Then he noticed the girl leaning before the creature, also naked, her hands bound behind her back, the tiara resting upon her head. The man-thing reached down and casually plucked it up, then sat back and let the tiara dangle from his hand like a discarded angel's halo. A pointed claw clicked against the metal, the sound as distinct as a hammer seating a crucifixion nail. The girl had not moved. The man's eyes had never left Saxon's. The right corner of his mouth crooked upward, a sign perhaps of amusement. At that moment, the girl raised her head. She turned and looked at Saxon over her shoulder, then back at the man. "May I, master?" The creature made a gesture, and her bonds fell away. She rose to her feet in a single fluid motion, to turn and face Saxon. The photographer felt himself harden, and realized Maxine and Cassie had had the right of it. Maxine's words came back to him. "You are curious, are you not, Saxon, about what such a creature as Beguile the Tiara could look like, smell like, taste like?" "Fuck like," Cassie had murmured. The girl began walking towards him. She was tall, though not nearly as tall as he, with small breasts capped by large nipples, a firm belly, a dark smudge at the juncture of her thighs. Her legs were very long and sleek, her eyes cat-like. Her lips parted, full and scarlet. She gazed at him, then let her eyes travel to his groin, where they lingered before returning to meet his. I think I've met my match, she breathed. She extended a hand to lightly caress Saxon's chin. The photographer felt a slight slip in the iron control he exerted over himself, her musk now perfuming the air between them. She let her fingers trail down to his chest. Saxon stepped back. She frowned as a child might when denied a toy. The thing in the chair laughed. "Go now, Vittoria," it said, its voice honeyed and deep. The girl stood on tiptoe and whispered something in Saxon's ear. He flushed and coughed, the utter earthy depravity of what she had just said catching him completely off guard. She walked past, and they both watched her, both entranced by the movement of muscle, clenching in her taut and shaped. The door opened silently, and she disappeared through it. "That what is very special. But a man of your experience, he know this already, don't you?" Poor Hervé. He never stood a chance. Perhaps I should make her my familiar. What do you think? I think you should leave her alone. Why? So you can just sit back and enjoy the havoc she will wreak upon the world. Ah, Saxon Bame, it seems you have already discerned the workings of my heart. Do you even have one? Not as you know that organ. You have me at a disadvantage, Plias. Ah, I am rude. You may call me Augustine. Saxon pointed to the tiara. I don't suppose you'll just give that to me. This little trifle? What will you trade for it? Asmodeus's real name. The creature sat up, and for the first time, Saxon saw in its eyes something new, something very few had ever seen. Interest. Then it suddenly began to laugh. The photographer resisted the urge to cover his ears. Very good, Saxon. You almost had me there. The demon let the moment stretch, taking the photographer's measure. The twirling tiara in Augustine's hand then came to a rest. Let us stop fucking around. I require from you a service. Which is? I want you to photograph my wedding. What? In hell. The creature watched Saxon's face with amusement as that sank in. He laughed for a second time. I'd lose my mind. Of a surety. Then why would I do it? For the experience. I may as well fuck Medusa. That can be arranged. Saxon was startled, never having imagined such a thing was possible. Just think what that would be like. The length of you buried in that writhing bitch. The last thing you see, the scream of pleasure on her face. On all her faces. Just before you turn to stone. Augustine licked his lips. Some small part of Saxon seemed about to agree. Then he reasserted his sanity. I don't do weddings. Of course you don't, sneered Augustine, then sat back and composed himself. I've made many bargains this night, and am well satisfied. This all I would ask of you is a simple favor. Saxon hesitated. He knew that the creature had agreed far too quickly. He felt the jaws of some monstrous trap closing around him. Then he remembered the girl and the ice-cold touch of her lips, and resigned himself to his fate. Done. Augustine tossed the tiara to Saxon and laughed a third and final time. Well, don't you wish that lasted just a little bit longer? And the whole book is kind of like that. I found myself laughing out loud at certain parts, then having the rug pulled out from under me as major drama played out on the very next page. I could not put this one down. The action just rips along. But be warned, this is not for the faint of heart. That's it for this week. This is Quindy Delicious signing off. See you in the next video.